Hello, good afternoon, moms. Hello. It's your girl, Sharita, the Behavior and Literacy Strategist, coming at you from the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute. Tripping over my words, okay? Where you can find solutions for both your child's reading, behavior, and also word problem challenges. Now, I want to talk to you about reading disabilities. Okay, because that could be something that's really scary. But I want to talk to you about it, how we're going to master reading for your child, okay? Now, if you hear that your child has a reading disability, or if your child has had a reading disability for years, I'm going to be telling you what you should be thinking about and what you should do, okay? First, I want you to look at the word itself and change how you see it. The word disability is very discouraging. So when you change it, it's going to help you see it differently, and then you'll move to action and know what to do. So instead of reading disability and saying that my child has a reading disability, what I want you to say instead is, try this. My child's having reading challenges. My child is having reading challenges. The challenge is different than a disability. Okay? In my head, the challenge is different than a disability. A challenge is something that you can grow from. A challenge is something for you to go up against and figure out how you're going to conquer it, right? And that's what we do here at the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute. We focus on literacy, and we focus on making sure our children can read at or above grade level. And it's also for children who have reading disabilities, okay? It's for children who have been struggling and reading below grade level for years. And it's for children who want to read, their moms want them to read above grade level, okay? Okay? But that's what we focus on here. So first, change it from disability to challenges. Next, I want you to say to yourself, this is temporary. This is where my child is right now, and there's room for growth. Okay? So right now, my child has a reading disability, and we change it to has some reading challenges. Okay? I'm going to identify what those challenges are specifically, and then he's going to or she's going to grow from them. So it is temporary. Then I want you to institute the word yet. My child has not mastered reading in this area yet. It means that your child is going to. Your child is in the process of. But we haven't gotten there yet. Now you can focus on progress. Okay? So now that we got that out the way, I looked at an article. It's on understood.org. I'll post the link of this article I'm looking at right now. It talks about types of reading disabilities. And I'm going to skim through and talk about the three areas where kids typically have challenges in when they have a reading disability and a non-language reading challenge, okay? First one is word reading accuracy, okay? Second one is reading comprehension and reading fluency. So if your child has been diagnosed with a reading disability, hey, Mom! Hello, I was thinking about you today. I got a video to send you. We're talking about reading disabilities and how we're going to conquer them, okay? So if your child has been diagnosed with a reading disability and you change it from disability to challenge and you focus on improving and getting your child reading on grade level, you do that regardless. If you've been told that your child is struggling with reading or if they have a reading disability, always have in your head, my child is going to read at or above grade level. And I like above, okay? Always. It doesn't matter what diagnosis they have right now. They're going to be reading above grade level, okay? So first we're going to talk about word reading accuracy, okay? This is what it says. People who have trouble with word reading accuracy struggle to break down the sounds of spoken language. They can also struggle to match those sounds with written symbols. This is known as phonological awareness. Trouble with word reading accuracy makes it harder to sound out or decode words. That makes it hard to read fluently and accurately. So that's what the issue is. So what are we going to focus on? Teaching our kids how to pronounce the parts of the word and pronounce every single letter sound. Okay? So my students, when I teach them, they have to pronounce every single letter and every part of the sound. Two parts that just pop into my head that I teach my students to focus in on and pronounce is the ER in words. The And I would say to my students, I would ask my students this. When we are decoding words, I would teach them like this. And even my youngest down to 4-year-olds, they'll say, what two letters work together to make the sound What two letters work together to make the sound And my 4-year-olds, even they start to learn it and they're shouting it out. ER, right? And then if I'm just starting to teach them, because I don't give my students answers, I would have them try to figure it out. What two letters work together to make the sound Is it AR, ER, IR, or PR, right? And have them try to figure it out. And then another sound I have, I would say, what two letters work together to make the ch sound? And then all my students love this, the younger ones. Ch, 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 chicka, 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 ch, 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 ch. And they're like, CH. And if they don't know it right away and they're just learning it, I would say, is it TH, SH, or CH, right? So when I teach them those different sounds, when they are reading the word, they have to recognize it and they have to pronounce every part of the word. They have to pronounce the vowels, the consonant blends, the digraphs. They have to pronounce every single, they have to be accountable for and pronounce and look at every single part of the word. And it's painstaking in the beginning for kids who are really behind, but after a while they get it. Okay? So if your child has trouble with word reading accuracy, if they don't know how to decode words, and if they haven't mastered their sight words, then that's something that you definitely should make sure they have. So instead of focusing on my child has a disability, and then just leaving it up to the school to work with your child on the disability, figure out exactly what it is that right now they're not able to do. Remember I said that it's temporary. It means right now, temporarily, your child is having difficulty with word reading accuracy. Right now, temporarily, okay? My child has not mastered word reading accuracy yet. So the way you think about it, and then the way that you talk to your child about it, you're doing good on this. You haven't mastered it yet, but you're on your way. And every day you work, oh, you got that? Oh, good job. You remember ER? Keep up the good work. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, you're my champion readers, my students. I want to hear from my champion readers today. Okay? And you are going to master word reading accuracy. The next one, reading comprehension. Let's see what it says. Trouble with reading comprehension. Reading comprehension means understanding what's been read. People who struggle with reading comprehension may have difficulty with word meanings, tying information together, monitoring their understanding, making inferences, and remembering what they read. So, what's your job? What's our job? To master reading comprehension. And remember how I always tell you about creating an action plan, right? I tell you about creating an action plan. So these are the things that should be in your child's action plan. Whatever they don't know needs to be in the action plan. I tell my students when they first start working with me, what you don't know, you will know. Okay? So as moms, we have to be really nosy about this and find exactly what it is specifically that our child should know at their grade level that they haven't mastered yet. Whatever is giving them trouble, whatever they don't understand yet, whatever they keep getting wrong, whatever they cannot do yet, that is now in the action plan. And we're going to focus on it and make a plan for it, each item of the action plan, until it gets done. So word meanings is the first thing, okay? So mastering word meanings, tying information together, monitoring their understanding, making inferences, remembering what they read. Now, reading comprehension is something I take very seriously. My students have to read the article or the story, and then they have to read it on their own first, okay? So if your child has difficulty with the first part, reading accuracy, they have to master that first before they go on to the story. That's going to help a lot with reading comprehension. Expecting kids to not know how to read the story on their own and just listen to the story from someone else. But then when it's time for them to answer questions and make inferences, right, and tie things together, they're weakened. It's because they have not connected with the story or the text. So they have to do that first before you get to the point where now we're about to master reading comprehension. Now, do I mean overall they need to master word accuracy? No. I mean, everything is happening at the same time, the way we do it, right? But understanding that that's a piece that has to come first. So before we even get to the questions, we're going to read the article, and you all going to read it. You're going to master reading it. Then we're going to get to the questions. Okay? And when you're asking questions, and when they are answering questions, and if you're doing worksheets, right? Go ahead and click on superteacherworksheets.com. I've been using this for years as a teacher and as a mom. All right? And you can click on reading comprehension for second grade, third grade, fifth, whatever grade your child is in. Have them read the story and coach them through reading so they can read it on their own, and have them answer questions. And that will cover all of these areas. Okay? But one key that I talked about in another word comprehension live that I did was, one key thing is make sure that your child is accountable for their answer. So a lot of kids like to read or hear a story or have somebody read it to them, and then when it's time for the questions, they want to give quick answers because they're not slowing down and paying attention to detail, which is one of the goals of a lot of my students in my program. They end up with that goal. They're not slowing down and paying attention to detail. They just want to hurry up and finish. They don't really have to work through it. All these different reasons, right? So you have to slow them down. They're not going to slow down on their own. You can say, slow down, pay attention, slow down, pay attention. You have to put things in place so that forces them to slow down and helps them become self-motivated at the same time. So I asked them, if that's your answer, why'd you choose that answer? Tell me why. If you chose B, tell me why D is not correct. Why is C not correct? Why is A not correct? Have a full discussion, but they have to actually think. Okay? So that's the second one. All right? Reading comprehension, difficulty with word meanings, tying information together, monitoring their understanding, making inferences, remember what they read. Challenges with word reading accuracy often overlap with reading comprehension issues. That's what I just said. That's what we were just talking about, right? That's why we have to master that first. I believe in mastering that first, because by the time you have them master reading the story, when they get to the questions, now they can read the questions on their own. Because a lot of the words that come up in the questions, they read during the story. So they can read the questions on their own. They have to read it on their own too before they put any answers down. That's another thing. Don't even try to give me an answer until you read that question, okay? My students even have to write the questions down, okay? They do a lot of writing. They have to write the questions down. But by the time they read the story and they can read it, now they can read the questions, and that helps them understand the questions more. So it's not just reading comprehension in the story, but it's also reading comprehension in the question. You got to know what the question's asking you. You know what I'm saying? Right? Hey, Ma, you raised a bunch of nerds. That's why. Y'all, my mother was very serious about school. Very serious about school and learning, okay? So, I'm number one nerd here. It's no wonder why I ended up in this field, okay? So it says here, but some people with reading comprehension difficulties have no trouble decoding words. They just don't understand what they've read. So some kids can read, but then they don't understand what they read. So that means to me, they know the words, but they're still not paying attention to what they're reading and to the story, okay? Some people, and just because they can decode words don't mean that they're even reading it correctly. Because some kids skip letters like A and the. Some kids substitute without even thinking. They know how to decode, but they're trying to go through it so fast that they just said something else. Some kids forget an S at the end of the word. Some kids forget the ED, different things. So it says some people who struggle with reading comprehension may have related challenges. For example, they may have a language disorder. That's a whole nother disorder. Remember, we're changing disorder to challenge. Because I have students that come to me and speech is one of the issues that they have. And they work with a speech therapist. And one of the best ways for kids to improve their speech, if they're having speech difficulties, is for them to read aloud. Because when they're reading aloud, and they have to read and be accountable for their reading, like I said, every single sound. So if I have students come to me and they have a hard time forming their mouth to pronounce the letter, we're working on that because they have to be able to pronounce the letter sound to be able to read the word. So kids who have speech difficulties, they definitely need to read aloud. That's practicing. It's talking too. Speaking as well, okay? And it says that this can impact how people use and process language, or they may have trouble with working memory, which can make it hard to remember what's been read. If they have trouble with working memory, going back and practicing reading a story until they master the words, right? They remember it better. All of this kind of works together, y'all. Okay? And if I have a student that we've read the story and they don't remember, I know that I need to go back and have them reread the story, which my students end up doing anyway. My process is they read the story and then they answer the questions. They can't look back in the story while they're answering the questions. That forces them to have to remember what they read. Because kids nowadays, they just want to barely read the story, go to the question, go find the answer. I don't want you to find the answer. I want you to understand the answer. Okay? So stretch them and make them have to remember. And if they get the work wrong because they don't remember it first, that's okay. Now when they go back and reread the story, oh yeah, that's right. They're stretching, they're thinking, and they're also remembering better. Okay? So it says, or they may have trouble with working memory, which can make it hard to remember what's been read. So that's reading comprehension. So we talked about trouble with reading accuracy, trouble with reading comprehension. Look at what they're saying. This is a disability, but they're saying trouble with. And our word is challenges. So don't let the word disability make you feel defeated. Okay? They're just having trouble with something. Simplify it. And when you understand exactly specifically what your child is struggling with, then you can have an action plan that's going to help your child grow in those areas. That's the other word that we use here. This is the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute, and growth is unlimited. So your child is here, and we're going to have him grow here. Then we're going to have him grow to here, and we're going to have him grow here and keep growing. Okay? So we don't worry about that. All right? The last thing is trouble with reading fluency. Reading fluency means reading with speed, accuracy, and the right expression. Okay? I just did a couple of consultations this week. I met with kids. And I'm going to say something here. When they read to me, I want to know how they read. I want to know how it looks to them and how they are processing when they are reading. Okay? So if they're reading slow and they're not accurate when they read and they don't have the right expression, those are things that I pay attention to. And now my job is to make sure that they master those 3 areas. Okay? But at first, when helping kids read, if your child has a reading disability, which is what we're talking about here, helping them read means knowing and understanding how they read right now. And understanding the behavior that goes along with it. So if I'm working with a child and I'm assessing their reading and they start to get frustrated because a word is difficult for them, then they start tapping their pencil or they want to get up and they say, can you hold on a minute? And then the camera goes off. I'm like, whoa, what you doing? I need to use the bathroom. I'm like, when you're done, I know that they don't really need to use the bathroom. You said, this is too hard for me right now. This is making me uncomfortable. So I'm ready to run. And when that happens and there's no plan put in place and the structure is not put in place, that they have to face that word, they can keep escaping by going to use the bathroom or asking for help. That's another thing. They say, I don't know that word. I need help. And then I say, well, I'm just listening today. What do you think it is? I ask, what do I think? What do they think it is? Because when they really look at it and they try to process it and I hear what they say, that helps me understand, learn how they learn. So this is not something general. It has to be very customized for each kid. Okay? So, and that's the trouble with, reading, calling it a reading disability, because it's too general. You start saying kids with reading disabilities have these issues, and it's general. But we're talking about your child. So what are my child's reading challenges? What does my child do when they come across a word they don't know? What does my child do when they are confronted with a paragraph or 5 paragraphs and I tell them to read it? What do they do? Okay? So this is customized. Reading speed, also called reading rate, is the number of words a person can read correctly per minute. Fluent readers are able to read accurately at a good pace. And that's what we want. And we want to flow. We want to flow. So I work with students and if they read and they're like, there's 8 words in a sentence and they are struggling on 5 of them, their fluency is really not good. And they don't feel good about it. So when I help them conquer all 5 of those words and I have them go and read the sentence again, and then I tell them read it 2 more times. By the time they've conquered all the words and when they get to it, they know it, they're so excited because I want to read this sentence now because I know all the words. So I'll say, good job. Read this word 3 times for me that they just conquered, and then read the sentence twice. So they go back and they read the sentence twice, but they do it again a 3rd time. Now I'm sitting here waiting for them because they want to master it, and they want to read it again. That's the reading fluency. They've just created it. They don't know that's what they're working on, but they just created it. Now it flows. Now they're not stumbling. Now they don't have to stop and slow down and figure out what the word is. You know what I mean? They don't have to do anything. They know it now. They know every one of these words that they didn't know. Okay? And when they do that over and over and they get through and they learn the reading strategies, after a while, and they get developing in reading, after a while, their fluency just naturally improves. Okay? Fluent readers, we read that already. When they read aloud, they do it in a way that shows they understand the sentence structure and punctuation. So when they're reading and they run past a period, there's a pause there. Or they run past a comma, there's a pause there. Okay? Right? People who have trouble with fluency take longer than others to read with words accurately and understand their meaning. They might also read aloud without expression. Okay? So they don't understand their meaning because they're not reading the words accurately. I said that. They have to be able to read the words and not be worried about getting it wrong. Not be trying to run away from it. Okay? And not be worried about how it sounds to other people. None of that. When all that's absent, they're definitely going to understand more of what they read. But if your child's thinking is based on, if they're focusing on, I'm scared I'm going to get this wrong, they're not connected to the story. So reading and comprehension improves when word accuracy improves. Okay? Okay? And then it says read without expression. Now, many people with dyslexia have trouble with fluency. Trouble with fluency can also be related to slow processing speed. Now, what does that mean? Okay? Right? What is slow processing speed? Processing speed is how long it takes someone to get something done. Some people take longer to process information than others. Slow processing speed isn't related to intelligence. It's just when they need a lot of time to take in, make sense of, and respond to information. Okay? So now it's slow processing. You're hearing these words get thrown at you. If a child tries to read and they are slow to process, or when they're doing reading comprehension questions and they have slow processing speed, the number one mistake that people make is we let them walk away from it. We come in to help them. We provide accommodations because they have slow processing, we feel. So we have to make sure we help them because this is hard for them. But really what they need to do is do it so much that their processing speeds up. Okay? Reading disabilities impact learning, but they're not a problem with intelligence. That's so true. I say that all the time. There are a lot of smart kids out here who can't read. You know how many smart kids I come in contact with, like just talking to them, just talking to their moms and talk to them. I'm like, oh, this boy's a little genius. And a lot of times they be using their behavior to be slick. I mean, their intelligence to be slick. They have behavior problems, but their behavior is a form of intelligence anyway. Okay, problematic behavior, avoidance behavior, negative attention-seeking behavior, right? That's their intelligence at work. So I'm like, oh, this kid is a little genius, you know? I can tell they're very smart. They just haven't mastered reading, what's that word? Yet. Okay? And it says people with reading disabilities are just as smart as their peers. Just remember that. It's not that your child is not smart. It's not that. Your child is dumb. They're not smart. They may feel like that when it's time for them to read. You could be around a kid and he could be very confident and feel good and everything, and then when it's time for him to read, he just totally fall apart, and even become aggressive or angry, disrespectful, because this is just a big challenge for him, and I don't want to read out loud to everybody. So gaining their trust and having an environment where they read aloud and they have a supportive audience is important. But they must read aloud, and they must read aloud over and over and over again. My students don't have the option to not read aloud. We have to. Like, we all read aloud. That's what we do here, okay? And it says, and not all reading difficulties are caused by a reading disability. For example, trouble with focus. The nerve. And I'm saying that like this article is hitting all the major points that we always talk about. Not the nerve like they're wrong, but just like, wow. For example, trouble with focus can make it hard to concentrate on reading. Okay? Yes, vision problems can make it hard to track words. So if your child has vision problems, that can be corrected too. But focus, and here we help our children. I teach them focus stamina. That's how long a child can stay focused on a task without being distracted by or inviting distractions into their environment. Okay? Kids can be taught how to focus too. All right? So whatever your child's challenge is, they just need a specific, customized plan for that specific challenge. And then you get to work. Understanding what their challenges are specifically. Hello, Shamika. Welcome. Hashtag replay sis. We're almost finished, but I'm going to review everything. We're talking about reading disabilities. If your child has a reading disability, what do you do? Okay? And I talked today about how to change that from a reading disability to a reading mastery. If your child has a reading disability and you want your child to read better, that's not enough, right? I want my child to read at or above grade level. At the Mark Unlimited Growth Institute, that's what we focus on. Not just read better. Because if your child is in the classroom, if they're in the 5th grade classroom and they are functional at 2nd grade level, they cannot function independently in the classroom. They need help. They can't read everything. They need things to be read to them. They need the text to be read to them. They need questions to be read to them. And that's not where we want our kids to be. Right? So reading disability, and I just went through everything, but I'm going to break it down really quickly. I always do like a summary at the end. First of all, we're going to change how we think about it. Because if we hear that our child has a reading disability, that's disheartening, and it's discouraging, and it's worrisome. You know how we moms are. We don't want to hear nothing about our kids, okay? Right? So we're going to change the language. We're going to change the language so that we can be in action. Everything could open up and feel clearer. And like, I know what I need to do. So we're going to change it from reading disability to my child has some reading challenges. My child is having some reading challenges, okay? Now, challenge is something like, are you up for the challenge? You ask yourself. Any challenge in life, you're like, okay, this is my challenge. I'm going to conquer it, okay? So we change it to reading challenges, and then there are two words to also include in our vocabulary. One is temporary. The other one is yet. So your child's reading challenges are temporary. Growth is unlimited. So your child can right now today have reading challenges. Your child was diagnosed with a reading disability, but we done took it and turned it into something else, right? Because that's what we do here. Your child right now has reading challenges, but it's temporary. This is how my child reads today. At this moment right now, this is how my child is reading. At this moment right now, these are the areas that my child is struggling in. Okay? So it's temporary. It's not permanent. It's not who your child is. Your child's reading disability or disorder does not define who your child is or even what they can do. It's just what they can do right now. And there's growth from that. And then find out by listening to your child read and not helping them and not doing it for them and not helping them break down stuff, but letting them struggle and seeing what happens when they're face to face with a word, face to face with a sentence that they are struggling with. That's what I do in my assessments. Okay, and then if they ask for help, I let them know. Just what do you think it says? Okay, just read it. Just look at it. What do you think the word is? Right? So finding out exactly how your child reads right now is going to give you a wealth of information. And then you can say, my child has not mastered these areas in reading yet. Yet. So this helps you when you change it from disability to challenge, challenges, and you create an action plan with every single one of your child's challenges that you notice. And then you're like, okay, now I have a plan. Now I can do something about this. Okay? All right? So the three main areas that children have difficulty with when they have a reading disability, word reading accuracy, being able to read a word, being able to decode or sound out a word. We can handle that, right? We got that. You guys say, I got this. Number 2, reading comprehension. And go back in the lives where I talk about the reading comprehension, right? And reading fluency. That's the rate and the speed in which your child reads. All those 3 areas, really? Those 3 areas, that can be improved. A child can grow in all 3 of those areas. Okay? So if your child has word reading accuracy and they have trouble decoding or sounding out words, find out specifically what they do when it's time for them to sound out word and where they struggle, and then creating a plan for that and coaching them on it until it gets done. Bam, we did that. Next, reading comprehension. This is what my child does when they come across the reading comprehension questions, or when I ask questions related to the story. This is what they usually do. And find out why. Find out why. What's holding them back? A lot of times, it's because they have trouble with word reading accuracy. They don't know how to sound out words when they read. They missed a lot of words in the article or the story in the first place. So when it's time to come to reading comprehension, answering those questions, they don't know what they read because they don't know how to read it. And your child needs to be able to read it on their own for them to really connect with the story and can develop these skills. Okay, so having them be able to read a story on their own should be your goal. Okay? And then the last one is reading fluency. And when your child, and equipping your child with everything in their literacy foundation is missing. So if your child has a bunch of holes in their literacy foundation, when it's time for them to read that story, they're going to struggle. That's word reading accuracy. Okay? And then when it's time for them to answer the questions, reading comprehension questions, they're going to struggle because they don't know how to read, but they are missing these skills. Maybe they're missing these sight words. Maybe they never learned how to conquer consonant blends. Maybe they can't differentiate between short and long vowel sounds, right? All those things are things, these are just some of the things I look for in my assessment. They have to have these things. If they don't, I'm going to teach it to them. Because how are they expected to read when they never mastered these areas or they forgot? So they have to get real sharp in these areas, okay? And then the reading fluency will speed up. They'll get better at it. It'll be smooth. So if your child has a reading disability, now here's how, this is the game-changing thing that we do here at the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute. If your child has a reading disability, you change it to reading challenges. But let's say, for the sake of the article and the topic, my child has a reading disability. I've been working with my child for a couple of months, and their word reading accuracy has improved. Their reading comprehension has improved. Their reading fluency has improved. I've been talking to his teachers, and I've been checking up on their assessments, their reading assessments in school. And the score keeps going up, because that's what we do here too. Every time I talk to my students' teachers, I want to see a growth from the last assessment. Okay? And we're going to keep going until we get to their reading at or above their grade level. So if all these things are going down, right, or all these things are going on, your child's improving all these areas, and their grade level's going up, the question I will ask you now, Shamika, is at this point, does my child still have a reading disability? And that's how we do here at the Morgan Unlimited Growth Institute. Growth is unlimited. So you don't worry about the fact that our children is at this point temporarily right now has a reading disability. We don't focus on that so much because that's temporary. We focus on what can I do, and understanding where your child is right now and why, how they end up with a reading disability. Okay? Well, they were reading below grade level in first grade. They started struggling. By second grade, they still did not master, and they still struggle in the same areas. But second grade, it gets harder, and they're not equipped. And by third grade, they're so far behind that now they recommended for special education, and they have extras. They have an aide helping them with reading, and then by fourth grade, understanding how your child ended up here. Understand that when children are born, they're supposed to be born and grow. Okay? So whatever happened, things happen along the way where your child ended up in this situation. And all we're going to do is press that reverse button. We're going to go back and equip our children with whatever they missed, whatever they never mastered, whatever the situation. Maybe one year they had substitute the whole year, right? So they fell behind. Maybe it was the pandemic. Whatever we find out where they are right now, we understand how they got there, and then we develop a plan to equip them with everything that they are missing. So instead of focusing on the word disability, we say these are the current challenges. They're temporary. This is the plan. We're going to ride this day till the wheels fall off. Until my child is functioning at or above, I like above, grade level. They don't need an aid anymore. They don't have a disability anymore. They just an excellent reader. And they're enjoying reading. So that's what we do. That's what we do here. Okay? So I just wanted to because I was thinking about this today. So many things been flying through my head as I've been working and between appointments and then doing some laundry. I wanted to talk to y'all about it. I had to decide on one. And the reading disability is something that, because that's a pet peeve of mine, is when we hear things, as moms, and then we worry and we don't have a plan. We feel stuck. You know what I mean? Or we feel like, well, this is my child. My child has this problem. No, they don't have a problem. They have a temporary challenge. And as moms, I want to empower you that you can do so much to grow your children. Okay? Whatever you want your child to accomplish, that's what is going to happen. If you want your child to get A's and they were struggling with D's, then that's what will happen. You have so much power you don't even know. But understand where your child is and where you want your child to be. Don't worry about the term disability. Change it to challenge. And then pay attention and stay on it. Stay consistent. If your child whines, Don't worry about it. If your child tries to get out of reading, that's normal. The word is challenge for a reason. And whenever we're growing children and they've been in this comfortable spot, when we start to grow them above that, they fight. That's okay, right? Keeping your eye on the prize, right? And understanding where you're ending up, and understanding that when your child gets past this level where they are struggling and they've been told they have a reading disability and they've been helped too much because of their reading disability, they've gotten used to that. It's like walking around with it's like riding a bike with training wheels for their whole, from first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. Now you take them off. Now they're ready to fight. Okay, right? But when you push, because I'm a very strong-willed person, and I tell my students, I always get what I want. Miss Sharita always get what she wants. So if I want you reading on grade level, that's what's going to happen. So I don't know what you think this is, but you're going to read. You're going to do my work, okay? That's what we doing, right? So even if they fight at first, when they get to the point, as soon as they start to be able to read words that they couldn't read before, or they can read a whole sentence when they had a couple words in a sentence they were struggling with, they are invested. Now they can't wait for their turn to read. They can't wait to read aloud, because now where they've been stuck for a long time and they thought they had a reading disability, so I just can't read, it changed. So believe in yourself and believe in your child. I always tell you at the end, right? Because for your child to understand, there's no way your child's going to know that or understand that process until you have the faith yourself and you make them stick with it. You don't let them escape to the point where they push past failure to reach that success, and now they are experiencing what you always knew they could do. But you believe it first. Disability ain't nothing. We don't worry about that word. We're going to make it happen. All right? So I want to thank you, Shamika, for hanging with me. Thank you, Mom. I'm going to send you a video of Maya. I thought this was pretty funny, so I'm going to be sending it to you. Okay? You're going to be cracking up. All right, y'all. So I'm going to head to the store to pick up something for dinner. I'm making some shrimp Alfredo tonight. Then I'm going to get the girls. And then we're going to come home. We're going to do our after-school shuffle thing we got going on. Stay tuned, because I got a lot more for y'all. And now we're approaching April. We're in April, May, June. School year is ending. And we're going to be getting our kids and my students ready to have an excellent school year after the summer. Are we going to take our time in the summer and not work? Nah. We're getting ready for the school year. All right. So stay tuned. We got lots more to talk about, y'all. For more information on Unlimited Growth Tutoring Coaching Program, go to growthinstitute.mykajabi.com. That's GROWTH Institute.mykajabi.com, y'all. All right. Or you can send me a direct message. I almost forgot to talk about, I've been talking about, but a lot of my students, I'm getting some new students coming up in the next couple of weeks, but my students are being promoted to a higher group. One just graduated. I have 4 students made the honor roll after we worked during the summer to make sure my students are thinking about honor roll. And 2 of them was in special education and were struggling for years, and they ended up having an honor roll, okay? So we've got a lot of success and much more, but I'm finishing up real quick. But it's a high standard, no excuse environment. My students know I love them, but I'm also very tough on them, and I have very high expectations, because then I cannot afford for my students to ever use the language. I can't. I don't know. It's my ADHD. I get distracted. They're not allowed to use that language. Instead, they say, I got this. All right? You got this, Mom. All right? I'll talk more about this, but I got to run to the store. And I just want y'all to have a beautiful day. Okay? Believe in yourselves. Believe in your children. And always remember that growth is unlimited. Peace.